a lot lately. So
Hmm.
be interested to see something like that come up. As you said, I mean, it feels like we've seen the same deck since Hearthstone beta.
Yeah, for Druids at the very least. Like there was a lot of innovation at first, but it stopped pretty quickly. So Stancifka with the Wild Growth, the Coin, and the Innervate, nothing can really stop an opener like this. It's pretty rough.
Now they both have ramp in their opening hand, but the difference is with the Daenerys Aspirant, that one's actually answerable. It's something as simple as Wrath can give you a huge advantage in tempo here. And as we've seen in the past, the person with the most ramp in the mirror match generally is the one that's gonna win.
Yeah, we saw Lostov make an exception to that rule where he let his opponent's, innervated Emperor get 3 turns of value because there wasn't that much in the player's hand, and he ended up winning the game. Thijs, at least, he's got the Dornasus Aspirant, and it's going to be okay for ramp, but when you don't have a 4-drop, that extra mana crystal really accomplishes nothing.
Yeah, now does this kind of signal the sort of hand that Sivka has here when he's taking this long? If you're Dice, if you're sitting on the other side, he has to have one of these like coin innervate hands or coin innervate wild growth taking this much time. Because
Yeah.
why else would he be taking this much time to figure out his first turn or two?
Well, maybe he got coached. Oh, Thijs finds better ramp than the Darnassus Aspirant. But actually, is it debatable? So if you play the 2-3, the upside is if something comes down the board, you can probably answer it. Say, something gets coined out. Maybe you can combine it with damage that you find off the top. But Wild Growth, I mean, they both put you in the exact same spot,
Yeah, they
I
both
think.
put you in the exact same spot, and I think at this point you're actually okay if this gets wrathed now, because it would take 2 mana of his 3 here. He's probably not going to do anything else this turn unless he has an innervate, and if you could stop him from playing a shade this turn and make him wrath, and then you get to wild growth next turn, you gotta feel like that's a small win.
Yeah, and the good thing is if, like, let's assume your opponent innervates out of 5-drop, and if you have a Wrath or a Swipe, let's say it's a Druid Claw, in this case, you could kill it with a Swipe or a Wrath, and then you're forcing him to have a 4-drop to follow it up with, because otherwise he can't just keep going with 5-drops over and over.
Yeah, I also like charging here because if they are going to, combine a swipe here, then you're still getting the value of taking care of the Daenerys Aspirant on your own turn and denying him that mana.
Yeah, which is exactly what Stancifka did, so I think that was definitely the best line of play that he had, considering the weakness he had to follow-ups. I mean, Thijs couldn't even play Keeper of the Grove here.
A good draw for him here, too. Actually find something to do this turn instead of just, hero power. Now his curb looks great going forward.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think Druid has the worst feeling ever when you're not playing.
I wonder. Where shall I strike? I wonder. Time waits for no one.
I have no time for games.
To be played. Goodness. Bebop, I'm a bot. Whoa, that was intense.
Yeah, I did hear the Sylvanas getting played, so
Yeah, now I don't know what's going on. I'm assuming... I don't know if the Ancient of War was traded into by the Shade. That's the one thing I want to know. Because I'm guessing like he's not going to trade because he wants to pick up the 4-6, but...
Time waits for no one.
yeah, I was gonna say I missed I think like the whole last turn or two, so
Basically, basically the Ancient of War was played on the board because he picked up an Innervate. Thijs did.
okay.
To counter so like the early ramp that Stancifka had, and he stabilized. But Sylvanas fell down. I think it's gonna be fine if he picks up a keeper. Otherwise, it's gonna be a little bit of a pain.
It looks like all that's been cleared up. Looks like he might have actually stolen.
Druid of the Claw.
Yeah, Druid of the Claw here, and then now they're getting back to these spots. Okay, sorry. Let's get back into this game.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on the video. You can, in the meantime, speak.
Oh,
about
okay.
it.
You're still waiting on video. Okay, we have a 5/2 Ancient of War and a 2/2 Shade on Dice's side. Stifka has a 5/5 Shade still not unveiled, but he's at 7 mana now, and he has Emperor Thorson, Force of Nature, Ancient of Lore, Pilot Shredder, Swipe. So he's got a lot of options, but he's got to figure out what's the best to do here. Like, does he trade off with the Ancient of War here and then reestablish a board? You know, you can draw 2 cards and get kind of into this because Dice is actually getting low on cards here.
Yeah, I think when you can abuse the first one to play the Ancient of Lore very often takes the game, right? Like it's one of those things where you just get an incredible lead if you draw first because you're forcing your opponent to draw after you, and you usually get the lead. In this case, though, the Ancient of Lore is pretty sacrificial. It feels. The only upside is that because your Shade is it's still unveiled as a 5/5 body, you tend to just win the game when you find your combo pieces. So unless you get beat to the combo race, you should be able to take this. Like, you could play Lotheb Shade here if you're Stancifka on the following turn, and you should be able to just not be scared of the combo, and then you win. Alright, getting back to the game here, having some technical problems as far as video goes. Oh man, the joys of Skype. This software, you know what we really need? We need like a super good spectator mode in Hearthstone. Like an actual spectator client outside of the game that's like perfectly made for streaming.
Yeah, you hear this, Blizzard? Get on it. Make us something to where we can do this without having to deal with a third party and have these problems happen.
Give me a custom OBS that I can just shove my face in so I can actually watch.
Take my money. I'll pay for it.
Yeah. Ahadaradas! Alright, I'm getting the video again. Hopefully you do too. Very soon at least. Do you?
Yeah, I'm back in the game.
Alright, perfect, great. So, go for Lotheb Shade. The board hasn't evolved since. That prevents a combo kill coming from Thijs, and that allows him to finish off the game potentially in the following turn if he wants. So there's a few plays that he can make, but oh, he's going to play a little bit more defensively. Wants to milk the Emperor for all it's worth. And he does force an answer from his opponent, so again, it does make sense.
Yeah, I like this play with the hand that he's got. He starts to make everything a lot cheaper. And if you can keep this around, I mean, the dream is getting to keep this around for another turn. If he gets to keep this around for another turn, I mean, he's going to be able to play his entire hand over the next 2 turns. And that's going to be pretty big in this matchup because he just keeps making board presence every turn. And Thijs is the one that's having to answer here. Plus, there's the pressure of the Emperor going off as well. So he's got a lot of things to figure out this turn. You know, do you use the Keeper of the Grove to take care of the Shade and then use your face and the Shade to take care of Emperor Thorson here? Like, how do you navigate this situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking really grim, though, for Thijs, because even if you do clear the board, if you do that, you're surrendering basically all your board, right? You're losing, you have to, like, Savage Roar, and then Keeper of the Grove. And, like, what's the follow-up? You really need to find a swipe here to stay comfortably in the game, Because you can stay in the game, but comfortably, not so much.
Yeah, Azure Drake Savage Roar might be the thing he just has to do and take a bunch of damage here just to actually make sure that he still has some threats, but it looks like he might be trading here.
Alright, so you kill the Shade and you just... Do you go face with your own?
Alright, does that set up a lethal next turn with Savage
Not
Roar? I don't think
quite.
it does just yet, so maybe he doesn't need to unveil it.
Yeah, I mean, Stancifka's in the exact same spot of having to be worried about the combo, but because he's got the Lotheb and played it slow with the Emperor, it's giving him a lot more flexibility, and now he can almost just win on the back of Lotheb.
Yeah, he's going to be able to Lotheb, plus if he wants to swipe and Shade here.
Yeah,
And
good luck
that's-
stopping that.
Yeah, that's like an amazing setup here for next turn with, you know, these Force of Natures, and he can even keep his Emperor around for another turn if he wants to, and this, you know, as you said, prevents him from dying from combo. Love this play.
So, do you say Force of Natures or Forces of Nature? Because, I mean, the assumption, of course, is that Force of Nature is the card, so you have to put the S at the end. But at the same time, there's like many forces.
Yeah, it makes multiple guys. I see what you're saying.
Right.
Maybe we should start pushing that. You know, if we keep doing it on the show, then other people will start doing it. It'll catch
Okay,
on.
so Force of Natures. Okay, sounds good. Let's push it.
Forces of Nature here from Stancifka.
So Shades of well, we do say Shades of Naxxramas. We don't say Shade of Naxxramas.
Yeah.
See, I found it.
The English language is so great.
All right, so we see Thijs knowing that he's probably in a position where he's just gonna lose, but he can still salvage this in a way. I mean, he's set to combo no matter what because the Shade is unremovable unless he picks up an Explosive Sheep from the Shredder. Good luck with that. Could pick up a Doomsayer as well, another potential card to find that helps. What does playing the Drake here do? Lotheb?
Lotheb, maybe a Sludge Belcher, and do some trading. You know, there are some cards in his deck that keep him from dying there.
Alright. So I'm guessing you have to silence off the Shredder. Oh man, this is so... Everything about this is so awful that I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of these hope and pray turns. He's going to clean up as much as he can, try to give himself a chance to win next turn, and then just hope that he's not dead.
So
Yeah,
7 and he's dead,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, with 12 damage
yeah.
coming from double fours, that alone is more than enough to clean up the
Yeah,
game.
Druid of the Claw is lethal as well.
Yeah. Stancifka's got well over lethal.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of different ways to do this here. It's however he wants to do it. You might see some gamesmanship here. Might mess around with him a little bit.
I'm not sure if he's that BM. Maybe he'll show the top deck, Druid of the Claw, because in a best of 5, if you tilt your opponent in some way, you got the slight edge just on the basis of that. Well, he's gonna go for the swipe, so, you know, the Emperor discounting twice was actually a really big deal in this game. The ramp from Stancifka did carry him. You know, we were talking about this earlier. Whoever gets the most ramp usually wins the matchup. And it did pan out, at least at the end of the results, but could have turned out different.
Yeah, I mean, he just had so much ramp at the beginning. I mean, Thijs did get a bunch of his as well, but he was the first one to really get it going. He always had a board presence. Thijs was always trying to answer it. He never really got anything actually moving forward. I mean, he was always the one behind in tempo. Stan always had initiative in those games, and that's what you want to be doing in that mirror. That's how you win it.
I mean, what do you think he's going to do going forward? I mean, you have to play Patron anyway, right? Like, Stancifka, it doesn't really matter in which order you pick them since it's a perfect counterplay anyway. But is there a reason why you queue a deck over another one? Maybe you play, like, the Handlock, hoping he runs into Patron.
Yeah, I would queue up... I was going to say, I would maybe queue up Handlock, hoping that he would go with something like Patron, but I don't mind this from him as well, just doing Control Warrior here and hoping to, you know, maybe steal one more game and just be up a game and just have Handlock versus, you know, the full range of him left. I think I would play whatever deck I didn't feel was my best deck. I would save my best deck for last and just hope that I get to run it against all three of their decks. And, you know, that's the one I'm going to play the best against those three decks.
Oh, well, he picks up the Wild Growth, so that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, he's got a Wild Growth and an Innervate. I mean, he's going to be able to get out this Piloted Shredder pretty early here. Ooh, let's say he could have, that would have been a little turn too late to get it out an early Shade here, but he's going to be able to get some early pressure going here. Piloted Shredder on his turn 3 is pretty great early. Ancient of Lore, get some extra cards, recover all this, you know, card draw that he's lost here and playing these extra early mana spells. It's going to be pretty good against Sifka here.
So I really like the fact that he's got a Fire War Axe to use with Bash to actually deal with a complete like Shredder. I think that's a really crazy tempo play that we don't speak of nearly enough. I mean, Bash has been regarded when it was announced as a bad card, and I really thought it was underrated. I mean, we're talking about a Warrior Dark Bomb that also gives them health. I mean, this is like the old school penance from Priest, and it was always great back then.
Yeah, I actually like the card in matchups like this. You know, you get to combo it with some other cards. It's really good with Shield Slam. It's really good with Fiery War Axe to deal with these giant minions that you usually only have like something like Execute for, or gigantic Shield Slams. So it gives you a little more versatility in your decks, which I like a lot.
I mean, you can kill a Druid of the Claw with it even. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, if you combine it with Shield Slam or Fiery War Axe, and I mean, it's not like you're losing card quality and card quantity there. I mean, you're getting the second charge out of the Fiery War Axe, and you might be able to take care of, you know, the front half of a piloted Shredder or something. You know, you still get some value out of it. Plus, you know, you're negating some of the damage that you're taking as well.
There's a double-pronged value out of it that I find so interesting. I am a little surprised he didn't play the War Axe this early. I mean, I guess maybe he was trying to incentivize his opponent playing a Shredder because he doesn't care too much about, you know, tanking the first wave of damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he was going into 5 mana where like Harrison Jones is a card he needs to worry about as well. I'm a little surprised he didn't play the War Axe as well, but I'm sure there was some reasoning behind that one.
I mean, maybe the extra health will matter a lot over time.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too. He's getting the 2 armor there. He gets 3 more this turn, and then next turn he could add even more armor with the Shield Slam, and possibly take care of it's going to be able to take care of a 5-drop. I actually like this play from Stancifka now. You know, he's going to take 2 here, and then be able to armor up and go into 5 and take care of something like Ancient of Lore. This was really well thought out by Stancifka.
Yeah, but it has to be 2 attack or less, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't say it doesn't work out, but it kind of gets punished. But then again, you can always get, you know, a decent War Axe follow-up. It's unlikely you get blown out of the game by, say, Brawl, right? Just because you do that. Yeah. Like, you can still recover.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's playing to more of the, you know, the averages, you know, the average drop that comes out of Shredder. I like this play from Stancifka a lot, actually. You know, he strikes me as the kind of guy that's always going to play to, you know, the best percentages that he can.
So I'm assuming Death's Bite. Well, he could develop Death's Bite to play a little slower if he wants to be greedy about it again.
Yeah,
well, that's a good Shield Slam target, though.
Yeah, he's got a few options here. He's just trying to map out his next 3 or 4 turns after this as well, because his hand is getting kind of cluttered. You know, he has Sylvanas, he has Dr. Boom, he has a lot of really expensive stuff, and you know, he's trying to figure out, am I going to get value out of this Brawl here over the next couple turns as well? And if he uses the Death's Bite, then it's the most likely chance of him getting value out of his Brawl.
Stancifka playing a very greedy Control Warrior, and I can't fault him for that, but that's going to be a crazy top deck for Thijs. I can't imagine he wouldn't just go for the full discount, or is he going to wait for combo pieces?
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in game 1 between these two guys that the Emperor was just backbreaking in that matchup, and again, it's going to be pretty good here as well. I mean, I don't see a better turn here that he could possibly have. You know, playing something like Pilot Shredder and Hero Power is maybe good, but really, how good is it? You know, putting 2 5/5s into play against Stancifka here is something you should be looking to do.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if you didn't go for the Emperor, if only for the threat you're representing of getting, say, a combo next turn. So the Warrior has to start playing...
Yep.
He has to start taking lines of play that he otherwise wouldn't necessarily. And that alone is worth it.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't get said enough, is like the amount of pressure that having an Emperor go off with 5 or 6 cards in your hand puts on your opponent, because now they have to start thinking about the things that you're capable of at less mana. Now, you know, if he has combo pieces, he can do them as early as turn 7. Now, he only needs 7 mana to do these combos instead of 9.
Yeah, I kind of give up, you know, like, as soon as I see Emperor, I kind of give up on all the combinatorics of what could happen, because there's a lot of, like, subtle plays that you prepare for, say, a Shredder, Wrath on turn 6, let's say. There's a lot of plays you'll think about, and then as soon as Emperor falls down, it's late enough in the game that the smaller cards are harder and harder to account for. You know, that Shredder into Swipe into Wrath on turn 7, like, you don't think about that kind of play, because it's so counterintuitive. It might happen, but there's a certain amount of combinations you just have to give up on.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you just have to start playing around everything now, because, you know, everything is possible at that point. And I like this play from Stancifka because this is the best chance that he actually starts to reestablish board control at some point over the next turn or 2.
Yeah,
because,
good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck. But I mean, you know, if he only plays one giant threat here and you can answer that one, or it gives him the best chance to play a Dr. Boom onto a somewhat stable board next turn, but he's going to be taking a lot of damage. So, I mean, it's going to be rough. from this
I
spot.
really thought that Stancifka would have gone for the Fire War Axe early, just because he had that bash. I think that bash was the card that defined the Fire War Axe as a good play, just because you answered Shredders so comfortably. But he decided to play a little bit more greedy. He still has his coin. That's not something you see very often when you're facing off against a Druid against which you're trying to milk every bit of value and, you know, kills, basically. I mean, sure, he can coin out a Dr. Boom, but does that do anything? That's a sick top deck for Stancifka with the coin Shield Slam.
Yeah, this was something he needed to happen right here. Like, Shield Maiden is probably the best draw in his deck this turn, actually.
Right. Wow, Stancifka with the draw. That's definitely a game-swinging draw.
I can take the hit.
Yeah, I mean, this will allow him to, like, reestablish board position here and put the onus back on dice to, like, start actually making some stuff really happen from here, because, you know, he's starting to run out of cards that are super cheap, and as we can see, a couple of them, you know, this Living Root's not going to be great here. Neither is this Keeper or the Shade. I mean, they're going to, you know, provide threats later. You know, he could take care of the Shield Maiden with this Keeper of the Grove, but then what else are you doing? Starting to just develop a Shade and hero power, and then Stiffa can kind of start getting back into this game a little bit.
Yeah, it's a really interesting position that Stancifka was in. I thought it was really far behind. I mean, he brawled 2 minions, which is a very low expected value brawl, but he still got, you know, the 2 kills. He tanked a lot of phase damage in the process, which is why that, you know, the greedy line of play that he took was a little bit of an unexpected on my part. It turns out that with the shield blocks, I guess, and the shield maidens left in his deck, he still had a few top decks that could have comfortably carried him to the late game. Oh man, he is under a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah, I like this from Theis, just getting as much pressure as you can in play, being as aggressive as possible. This is how he's going to win this game. If he lets this game drag on, you know, 5 or 6 more turns, there's a very good chance he could lose from here if he has a couple bad top decks. Like if he just draws Wild Growth into like Wrath, you know, just like 2 cards that aren't going to do much. And you know that Sifka's hand is going to be filled with a lot of really big hits.
Yeah, and now Stancifka's just throwing a Hail Mary. He's like, well, I might be dead to combo, well, what can I do? And
there we go.
Oh, well, is that it? 4, 7, 8, 9? I mean, 9 plus
I
8,
think
that's exactly
18,
lethal.
yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Exactly lethal. Haha! Turns out you can get lethal with Savage War, ladies and gents. So Theis is going to take the game. Stancifka with a very greedy Control Warrior still has the War Axe at the end of the game in his hand. Not something I expect to see, but I guess maybe next time he faces off against the Druid, he'll play that War Axe a bit faster. It was interesting. I think ultimately it wasn't necessarily a misplay, but I'm really wary of letting a Druid snowball.
Yeah, you know, hindsight, yeah, possibly a misplay because the game would have played out quite differently, and I liked your line, but, you know, thinking about what he was trying to accomplish with this, he had a game plan. It wasn't
He definitely did, yeah, and he stuck to it to the end.
Yeah, and I actually liked his game plan. Like, it worked out really well. It ended up just costing him, you know, a few extra points of damage. He ended up dying to exact damage here for not having the Fiery War X early, which, you know, that's one of those situations. It's one of those things where if his play line works out, he looks like a genius, but now that he loses, you're like, you have to question, you know, do you play that War Axe in that spot? You know?
Yeah, I just I was scared of this Shredder. Maybe I play too scared when I play Control Warrior, but I am scared of Shredders, and I'm scared of not having the answer to them, and then they keep getting followed up. So to each player's own playstyle, I guess. Ultimately, I mean, he's the pro, I'm the caster. There's a difference in the seats that we occupy at the moment, so I can't ultimately criticize him for sticking to the game plan. We'll see him follow up with. Is he playing his Control Warrior again? No, he's the Warlock this time around, and Theis is playing his patron. It seems like Stancifka double BGH. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, you have to believe those are getting mulliganed right away. Yeah, this whole hand's actually just going to go away.
Yeah, there's no reason to really hold on to it. So he's countering, I'm guessing, Giants. Is he playing them to deal this? No, there's no way he's playing that to counter a Secret Valley. Yeah, that one of just to kill the big mysterious challenger that you know is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw that actually happen earlier today in the tournament. You know, it was a big swing turn, actually. It was pretty cool to see that actually be relevant in that matchup.
Yeah, you don't expect it, but when you really think about it, BGH is a crazy good card against the deck. Yeah. It's an amazing card, in fact, against Secret Paladin. It sounds ridiculous, but it really just does work out.
I mean, the Secret Paladin is technically, it's like an aggressive deck with a combo in it. It's technically like a combo deck, and you have an answer, a 3-mana answer that leaves behind a 4/2 body to their combo, and that's huge. Like, that's such a big tempo swing that it's generally enough to win you the game.
So the coin here on the Acolyte of Pain from Theis prevents Stancifka from getting a good curve on, say, a turn 3 Acolyte where Dark Bomb life tap would hit. Where in this case, he's just forcing him to tap or Dark Bomb. You pick one, but you don't do both. And I like that. I really like the Thijs forcing his opponent to choose one or the other. And the good thing is he's going to weave in a tiny bit extra damage as a result of that.
Yeah, this is something you see a lot of professional players do. And here's the tempo frothing berserker that we've talked about. This is something you see a lot of pro players do, that they make plays like this on certain turns to really mess up the curves from their opponent. You know, they're like, this is what he wants to do on turn 5, or this is what he wants to do on turn 6, but if I do this, then he has to like change it up. That can go a long way into winning a match, because now their hand is awkward for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's actually preventing them from going through with the game plan. And Stancifka's just going to deal with the Acolyte right now. It worked out pretty nicely for him. He's not going to give Thijs more cards. And now the Frothing Berserker, whenever it gets buffed, if it does, will be vulnerable to, to either Owls or, possibly a BGH.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a couple answers to this. It's going to be interesting to see how, cute Thijs is going to play this from here. He's going to, like, make sure, try to not get it to 7 power unless he's dealing with a giant that's in play already. So you're going to see him probably not do a ton of damage to his own minions here and try to keep this thing out of Dark Bomb and out of BGH range.
Yeah, it's really complicated, though, managing a handlock's threats as Patron. You have 2 executes, and that's it.
Yeah.
You're pretty much out of answers at that point. So it's a really tough matchup when you don't get that early advantage. But that Frothing Berserker tends to win the game on its own, because it doesn't even have to deal 18 in one turn. It just has to deal a consistent amount of damage, like frequently, like a 3, 4, 5 back to back, and then the Warlock lost 15 health to this guy, and it will add up really quickly.
Yeah, and he does have one of his executes here, which is good for him, because you do need to draw at least one of them to have a chance to win this matchup. Otherwise, you have to go through hoops to set up this really complicated turn on like turn 10 after an Emperor, where you can get a Frothing Berserker big enough and go through 2 to 3 taunt minions and still do 28 damage with a Frothing Berserker. And those hands don't always work out. You don't always have everything you need for those spots.
I was gonna say the best top deck Thijs could get is a Fiery War Axe, and lo and behold, that allows him to clear off that 2-3, so no Shadow Flame possible, no combination of Trade plus Hellfire, nothing will do it. This Frothing is very comfortably sitting at 5 attack, and we were talking about this, right? Like, that BGH will have to come down after Stancifka dealt damage to minions through Mortal Coil, maybe, right?
Yeah, he has like some bad plays where he can like coil twice.
Yeah, and then BGH the Frothing. It just feels so horrible to do.
Yeah, I mean, Hellfire would be a pretty good draw here. That's about one of the. So, yeah, it's the best draw in his deck, and he really needs that. And you're seeing Thijs really pained over attacking here or not because of Molten Giant.
Yeah. Oh, the RNB Cowl finally shows up.
A little late.
What do you do in this position if you're Stan?
I mean, you have 6 mana, so if you tap, you can get your Molten Giant down to 1.
So you have 3 mana left over. So
and then you have 3 mana left over. So like, yeah, maybe an Owl here just to kind of, take some of this damage away from you, because there's a chance you die here very soon. I mean, Thijs might have enough to actually kill you on this turn. Inner Rage and Whirlwind is almost enough to get it done by itself here. So you have to be very careful here from this spot on, because he actually can't taunt up this turn.
Yeah, Thijs denied. Denied. It happened to be that way, but Thijs ended up being fine with attacking with a Gnomish, because the only way his opponent taunts up is if he's got either a Belcher or a Molten Giant with Sunfury Protector or Mountain number 2, which anyway you have to deal with at some point. Looks like Stan's gonna go for the Molten Owl play. That's still 7 damage on the board for Thijs. All he has to pick up is an extra 4. Can he do it? I don't know, but that's good.
Yeah, he did pick up an Execute, though. That's a pretty good one as well. Yeah, drawing the Executes in this matchup, like we said, super important. You only have 2 pieces of like real removal in your whole deck, but you can also use your face for quite a bit of damage as well. I mean, your weapons, you can just take 8 once or twice here, because if you get them out of the way, it usually means you're winning. So you don't get attacked too much. Usually when you lose to Handlock, they have like an iron grip on you. They don't always just race you down. Thijs is going to take his time on his turn here. There's no way that he can actually lethal Sifka here, but he's going to get his minion damage and draw a couple extra cards here, try to set up lethal maybe in a turn or two here. He does have a Warsong Commander along with a Frothing Berserker, so this can allow him to have some big turns if Sifka doesn't have a way to taunt up here. And yet you're going to see him push for damage here and set up this Death Spite. Because if he gets this Death Spite to go off with a Whirlwind next turn with this Warsong Commander, there's a lot of ways he can lethal from this spot.
Yeah, and this is probably the only position you're happy with. What I find fascinating is how greedy Stancifka plays his control play styles. Like, we saw him play Control Warrior just before this. It was a very slow game, right? And he's really letting the cards add up in his hand until he gets, like, the best possible way to deal with a specific card. And that Frothing was left basically unchecked for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that Frothing got in a ton of damage this game, and that was not a bad pickup here.
Yeah, I'd take that, given the chance. I mean, that's probably one of the better ones you could have gotten, in fact.
Yeah, one of the executes is gone already, so you can either not play around an execute, or you only have to play around one, obviously, but we see that...
I'd go for Defender. I think it's so dangerous not to taunt up. It's more risky to heal up, because the damage goes in anyway. You know how Patron works. You have no taunts, you're dead.
Yeah.
So getting the Giants taunted up is definitely a better defensive option than playing the heal bot. Unfortunately for him, the execute, the second one, is definitely present. And is there a lethal there for
Alright, so
Dice?
If you Warsong plus Frothing...
You've got Death by Trigger, right?
Yeah, you have Death by Trigger into an execute. I don't know...
So 4, 5, 6, 7 on the Giant. You would have to throw... yeah, you'd be able to throw in your initial Frothing and you win. Yep, he's got it. He can go through with the initial Whirlwind, I think. 4, 5, 6, 7. No, he's going to be 2 off.
Yeah, my feed is a little grainy. It's hard for me to see all exactly.
No, he's got... I think it's 2 off. He's missing 2 damage on the Giant to go through. Even if he ends up face tanking the entire thing.
Yeah, so what I think he's trying to think of now is what's the best board position I could leave myself in to kill him next turn.
Yeah, and not die right away, basically.
Yeah.
Because he's almost guaranteed to win if he has like 1 more mana to use the Ghoul. Because the Ghoul represents an additional Whirlwind effect, which is a really big deal.
Yeah, the thing is he can't get the Whirlwind effect off of his Death Spite right now without taking 9 to the face.
Yeah, so he's just going to set up the Ghoul preemptively. I like that. That's definitely good. Because the damage is going to add up on those Giants enough maybe to enable the Frothing. Is there a potential lethal for Stan?
18. He's got 23 right now. He's a little bit short with the Hellfire. Could
you go anti-Killbot? I mean...
anti-Killbot Shadow Flame is not enough.
It's not enough mana. Hellfire is suicide. Shadow Flame a Giant doesn't feel good at all. Is that ever something you have to do? Sort of it feels like a weak play, but...
Well, alright. So is Hellfire suicide? I mean, it clears Theis' side of the board.
Right, completely. Like, it clears like that side of the board completely, and you get to go in for an additional...
You get 18.
18 damage, so you have 21 damage. The War's on 4. He can't face tank the Giant.
Yeah.
There's no way he can face tank it.
I think he thinks this is... Yeah, this might just be his best option to try to not die and win in the next turn.
Yeah. Alright, can't play BGH for tempo because it kills the Giants, and Theis has all he needs, I think. Is he too low on health to face tank? We know that he is. So, does he have the option to use the Whirlwind with the Frothing? I can't even see anything at the moment.
Yeah, it's I can't see all the numbers exactly here, so...
Yeah, the feed is a little bit grainy from Skype, but we're kind of... Like, we're getting the general idea. I know those Giants are down to...
They're 9-5s, now they're 9-4... They're 6 or 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're down to 6 for Hellfire and 1 more from the Ghoul. And now the Frothing goes through, and Dice is going to be able to seal it up with the weapon because his opponent damaged himself through Hellfire, which gives Dice the exact lethal.
Yep.
Well, a little bit overkill. I think by 2 damage, if I calculate right. So Theis is able to take another game against his opponent. So Stancifka playing a very greedy hand block. I mean, the double BGH is definitely interesting. I have to say, it's something I see in mid-range Demon Lock, but not that frequently in hand lock.
Yeah, you know what? I don't mind it in this lineup, like with the opponents that he's got going. I mean, almost everyone is also bringing Warlock in this group. So double BGH. I mean, he's really trying to win some mirrors here.
Yeah, he probably expected a lot of people to bring onwards the handlock, which if you're playing double BGH, you're fully prepared for.
Yeah, if double BGH fully prepared for that, I mean, you have to believe that everyone's going to be bringing Warrior, and almost everyone's going to be bringing Patron. And you see, he actually went the next level up by taking Control Warrior, which can actually win some Patron matchups and then win some of the other matchups that he thinks he's going to be getting. And then you have the double BGH Warlock deck to take on the other hand locks that you expect to deal with Patron. So, I mean, he went really deep on his card and clash deck choices here.
All right, well, let's see how this pans out. I mean, we're looking at Control Warrior versus the Handlock. Exactly the same thing we saw. This used to be a very classic match, right? Like, it used to be very common because those two decks were at the top of the rankings no matter how you looked at it. But I feel like it's like Control Warrior fell out of favor since Green Patron, so we haven't seen much of the post Blackrock Mountain matchup of Control Warrior versus Handlock. The double BGH will come in handy, assuming you expect Variant Rin to hit. There's a lot of little nuances that allow for this to happen, assuming Thijs is playing that version as well. But I don't know how many BGHs Thijs ends up running in his deck.
Yeah, I would assume one. I don't know if he's as all in as Sifka is here in his version of the deck. You know, one is pretty standard though. Now, does he know that he's Control Warrior?
Yes. He saw the, well, he didn't see the Fire War Axe, but he saw, of course that doesn't mean anything, but he saw the Bash, he saw the Brawl earlier when he was playing his Druid, so he knows that Stancifka is running a much more, you know, control style with the Warrior, which is really no surprise. So if you hadn't picked up this Giant, would you have played the Owl here?
I mean, how good is Owl against a 4/5 Watcher? I mean, he doesn't have a lot of ways to answer it right away. He needs... You would be able to shred some armor, plus you would need something else, plus a shield slam to take care of it that turn. I mean, there's a chance that you could possibly just steal a game from him there, you know, because you do get to follow up with, like, Defender of Argus plus Lotheb. So I think if he doesn't pick up the Giant, there's a chance he at least thinks about it. Because, as you said, you know, you could just steal a game from him here. Yeah,
it used to be a super common play back in the earlier days of Hearthstone, I guess, where if you ever got the opportunity to coin out a Watcher and with Owl, you would do it. Like, there's no question. A Yeti was unanswerable back in those days. Of course, things have changed a little bit since then. But I feel like in a position against Control Warrior where you saw a shield block being played and you can shred the armor that was given by the shield block, which means he's got even less chances of winning a good shield slam hit, then maybe it's worth it.
Yeah, because like now you see a situation where he can just easily answer this for 1 mana and still, you know, develop other things if he wants. You know, if he wanted to, he could have like Acolyted Pain in this turn, but instead he just wants to keep armoring up.
Yeah, I like this plan for Stancifka. This is a very slow play, and honestly, I think this greedy playstyle is going to work out a lot better against Handlock than it did against the Druid. This looks a lot more solid.
Yeah, we're going to see an Emperor come down here, and this is... Emperor has been pretty good in this match for both these guys. I mean, it's been making insane draws from both of them. I mean, look at this hand, how much easier it's going to be able to play out here from this turn. This is he sees that this game's going to go super long, and he needs this kind of value to try to fight this fight.
Yeah, I mean, with Bash and War Axe, it's really easy to deal with the Emperor, so it's really not that big of a deal. But the mana cost reduction might turn out to be crucial. When you have a turn, sometimes you get really awkward turns with Giants. You can't play the Sun Fury, you can't play the Defender, but this will allow you to weave them in a bit more, you know, naturally.
Yeah, plus he could have a turn where, you know, he gets to play a Lotheb for 4, plus some other threats as well, and really kind of, you know, turn this game around, make a big tempo play there as well.
A double Hellfire in Thijs' hand is like, this is not Patron. You don't need the double Hellfire for safety purposes. It doesn't accomplish as much as you wish it did.
Yeah, it's just going to be pretty much burst in this matchup. I mean, you might be able to clean up an Acolyte of Pain to where he only gets 1 draw off of it there, but otherwise this card not very good in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you end up playing it. There's a few cases, I guess, where you could remove a Sylvanas by double Hellfiring and guaranteeing that she gets nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's corner cases. I mean, it is Hearthstone. Something's gonna come up at some point in time where it's actually gonna be good. But yeah, there's no obvious spot where it's gonna be amazing here.
All right, so Thijs is playing Lotheb. I mean, if he plays it, it prevents a shield slam on a further Giant, and it's also going to cost Stancifka a really huge amount to kill the Lotheb if he wants to use a shield slam. The obvious immediate option is a really bad feeling execute that you never use on a 5/5 in the matchup.
Yeah, and I like his idea of, you know, I don't need to rush here. Like, there's a chance he doesn't even take care of the Lotheb, because what's really going to happen that's a big problem here, you know, you take 5, maybe 6 because of a Defender of Argus, but you can answer this card eventually, and you don't need to go crazy and give up a ton of tempo for this.
Yeah, honestly, the Brawl alone is good enough to win you back the game. Handlock is especially vulnerable to Brawl once they extend on the board. With you know, they go for a taunted up Giant, and you've already got something on the board. You lose a lot as Handlock to double Brawl decks.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like this play from Stancifka. Just kind of set up a board with some random minions here, get some power, get some extra draws here out of your Acolyte of Pain. Like this is the only way he can guarantee to get 2 draws out of it here, which I like a lot. His life total is so high that he's gonna get to play this game out pretty well, and then getting some extra damage in here makes his Fiery War X better as well. I love this play from him here. You know, he doesn't have to move in on Brawl just yet either.
Is this the Hellfire turn? Just because? It looks like one, but again, you're opening up your Lotheb to getting killed by the axe that he already has equipped. So would you end up taunting up the Defender? I mean, the Watcher on the back of this?
I think there's a chance he does that because this sheds all of his armor if he does all that. You know, he gets an attack in for 5, then he gets 3 in from Hellfire, and then another attack in for 5 if he uses his face to take care of Lotheb here, so it shreds most of the armor. Plus, I mean, where's a better spot you're going to find for a Hellfire? Like, this might be the best one he gets all game, and he has 2 of them.
Yeah.
So
I think you have to empty your hand at least a little bit. I mean, these options aren't looking exactly amazing at the moment. All of this hand is a little clunky to use in any way. You're looking for those Drakes, you're looking for those Giants. This is not at all what you're hoping to find. Maybe he just goes for, you know, Dark Bomb play, silencing perhaps. But the moment you overextend, you know the first ball is going to punish you, and you have to be very cautious.
yeah, I mean, this is a matchup where both these guys are going to be like tiptoeing around each other quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, like no one wants to make the first big mistake because it just snowballs out of control from there because the other decks are so good at punishing that.
Oh, well, Stancifka picks up a pretty crazy sequence of legendaries here. He's got, you know, an amazing amount of life gain in Justicar. I think this is a good turn to play it, just because you've got Brawl in the follow-up, and this guarantees a massive health gap over the course of the game, and that on its own is worth it. Even if you take a lot of damage now, you're going to recoup that in the future.
Yeah, it's also a 6-power minion. It challenges everything on the board. It's another minion you don't mind getting swept up in Brawl, like you were saying. Plus, it lets you have the best chance to have a stable board to Ragnaros on, which is a pretty good card in this matchup.
Alright, so Stan does go for Justicar. I love this card in Warrior. I still think Paladin and Warrior are the only 2 classes that got a huge buff out of it. I haven't seen too many people play around with it in other classes. Of course, Rogues, never mind that. Druids, you don't like to use Hero Power on any turn, given that you're, you know, if you have the choice, Hero Power is never something you do. Priest doesn't have the advantage the Warrior does, where they can get over the maximum amount of health. So it's just so hard to use in other classes. But Warriors, man, do they get a good deal.
Have you done the 10 mana trick with it yet? Where you get to Hero Power, play it, Hero Power again?
Yeah, I've done it. Like I've done it in Priest a few times with Akanai. Always feels good.
Just 6 stuff. That sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah, 6 damage.
That's a use for it in Priest. Yeah, that's a use for it in Priest. That's a lot of hoops to get through to make this card good. So
right,
you know,
and this is we keep saying that today, right? Like going through hoops to make things work. Yeah, not quite a good game plan nowadays.
Well, that's what TGT has done to a lot of the cards. You have to do so much to make them good.
Yeah. Man, Thijs, with the Earthring Farce here, this hand is looking the absolute worst you could ever get against a control deck. Like, you have... I mean, there's no Siphon Soul. I mean, the Owl is cute, but you're not low enough to really want to play the heal bot. You might, but what if Alex comes out? That's another big drawback.
Yeah. When's the last time you saw a 10-card hand that was like this bad for what's going on?
I honestly, Forsen playing Freeze Mage was the last time I saw this, and it goes a long time.
I mean, look at how much pressure Thijs is under here. He's like exasperated, like the fact that he can't really do much, doesn't have anything great to do, and he has 10 cards in his hand.
Yeah. This is where Stancifka plays Cold Light Oracle and just laughs his way to the bank.
Cold Light Oracle and Control Warrior.
Yeah, man, the Iron Juggernaut Cold Light deck.
I've actually done that. I've actually done that before, but it was an arena.
Oh, well, I do it in Constructed once in a while, but like you don't get out of rank, you know, I mean, Wood League basically. There's no way you're getting out of there. It's such
Wood
a bad
League.
deck.
I've never heard it referred to as that. I like that.
Yeah, well, it's taken from other games, I guess. It's like, you're lower than Bronze League. You're so bad, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Wood League heroes.
Yeah, no, Sifka still has to figure out a way to, like, navigate all this. But as you said, I mean, every time he hero powers, he gains 4 now instead of 2. So it's going to be really hard for Thijs to, like, really start pushing super hard. Because anytime he overextends, there's a brawl.
Yeah, that's always the problem, is you still haven't seen the first brawl in Thijs' shoes. And the biggest issue is that how do you deal damage to a guy who, like, in 2 turns of armoring up, negates 1 hit from a giant?
Yeah, exactly. Like this is classic card games. You know, this is a classic strategy that you've seen in card games before, where a control deck just gains a bunch of life and a lot of the resources like that, whatever your health total resource is, and forces the other deck to overextend to keep up, and then just plays the one card that's a sweeper.
Right, and then the other deck just loses. So whoever would win over time also has the huge Punisher, and it's generally it's a sweep from there. And what's interesting is Stancifka plays it super slow. He's got no incentive not to. Thijs still picking up crappy cards. Thijs' deck running 2 Owls and the Earthling Farseer leads me to believe he was teching against something that wasn't a Control Warrior. I can tell you that much, because you wouldn't be running, you know, that much, I guess, anti or tech, you know, anti-aggro tech in a way.
He's probably gonna find a spot to play one of these Hellfires, but I agree with you 100%. I mean, this looks like maybe like more anti-aggro, you know, and there's not a lot of that in this group.
Right. So Stancifka, at least, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he has literal 0. I mean, his decks are made to go to the late games here, or just punish you as quickly as possible.
All right, is that ever a brawl turn that you like? I might take it just because I can play a Belcher on the back end.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the deciding factor. The fact that, you know, Belcher's going to hold up well against everything else that's left on the side of the board. Plus, the Fiery Rex could clean up 2 of the 3 minions that could be left over by the brawl. So this could be super, super clean. And then if you get to do something like Sludge Belcher and Thijs has another turn where he doesn't do a whole lot, you've got some pretty good plays behind this. There's some legendaries sitting there just waiting to get in play and try to end this game. But I think Stancifka is going to continue to play this slow. We've seen his idea of what to do in this matchup. Just play patient, play slow. He's just going to continue.
Oh, I can't fault him for it. The funny thing is, like, he plays greedy, right? Like, we saw him play Handlock pretty greedily. He played his first controller game against the Druid pretty greedily. But this is a perfect time to actually, like, abuse that playstyle. If it's one you're comfortable in. I mean, the fact that he's playing Justicar Trueheart in, you know, the deck, in my mind, that on its own is just an indication that he built the deck to last as long as possible. Because, I mean, it's always good in Control Warrior, but you can build it so slow now. Like, it's not even... I think Control Warrior has never had as many tools as it has now to seal games and make them go to fatigue and win anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like, Thijs is finally drawing some actual real threats here now. You know, he's drawn all of his filler and no thriller, as we like to put it. You know, he had, like, a lot of Giants now and some Twilight Drakes, but... You know, all the stuff he had earlier were just, you know, these big game hunters with no targets, you know, these Ironbeak Owls with no targets. And now he's actually, you saw him kind of getting exasperated with his draws because, I mean, he's been through over half of his deck and he's, like, not finding what he needs for this matchup. And Sifka, again, just setting up great turns for himself forward.
I like, so the Owl here on the, is he going to do it? Wow, I thought he was going to do it on the Belcher, but using it on the Watcher, actually, now that I think about it, makes sense. I wasn't going to comment on that, but it's kind of cool that he's doing that.
Yeah,
it's sad that he didn't do it earlier, because it would have done a lot more work over the course of this game. It's been around for, what, 10 turns now?
Well, here's what Sifka's been waiting for. This is the turn. Now, I like that he didn't use Lotheb to attack here, because, you know, that's very clean of him not to let the Fireworks clean up the Lotheb if it's left over from this brawl, or the Ancient Watcher. There's a couple really good ones left over for both players here. Thijs wants one of the 6 toughness minions to live here. It looks like that's not going to happen. Great turn here.
Yeah, but Stancifka's got nothing to play on the back of this outside of a weapon or Harrison Jones. Harrison Jones I like quite a bit because it is trading up with the Fire War Axe into a Giant as a follow-up, for instance. So that's going to give you a little bit more leeway to maybe face tank a bit more damage before you start putting on even more pressure. You could even go for, you know, Ragnaros on the back of it if you play the War Axe and face tank, play Dr. Boom. Lots of high pressure plays you can follow it up with.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way he's played this game. It's just like you said, he's getting himself the best chances to have these back-breaking turns. And then if not, you know, he's still got removal in his hand. He's still got ways to deal with some of these big guys. And he can even check from removal with Thijs with something like Dr. Boom. Yeah, this card's almost expendable at this point in his hand.
So Thijs here deciding to play the Giant first because he knows he wants to play the Drake and taunt it up at the same time instead of playing, you know, Sun Fury prior. I thought he could have played the Drake first and gotten the Giant out afterwards, but it wouldn't have given him that extra 1 mana to play the Sun Fury. So what does Ten do here? He can definitely play the Death's Bite.
Well, I mean, if he wants to clean this board, he can Cruel Taskmaster into Execute, into Attack, into Fiery War Axe.
Looks pretty clean to me. I think this is probably a turn that he's going to be taking.
All right, he's gonna actually change it up a little bit. The thing is, it doesn't use a lot of his mana there super efficiently. That's the problem. And then this way, it takes a little less damage too.
Well, I mean, the thing is, having mana left over when you play Justicar True Heart.
Yeah.
I mean, as bad as it might be from a pure mana efficiency perspective, it's still amazing because you're creating that huge health gap. But the Warlock's racing ahead on cards. But look at the quality of Stancifka's, hand. You look at Varian Rin. Can you really criticize the card quality, like the hand quality? It's basically digging 3 more cards. So Stancifka effectively has 7 and possibly an even bigger board.
Now, something we said about playing the Justicar True Heart in the deck along with the Ren is like, you talked about this. The problem with this card is sometimes you go to Fatigue and it actually makes the card bad because you take 3 cards out of your deck and you can't play it when you're in Fatigue. But if you're gaining 4 life a turn off your armor, this actually kind of helps negate that problem a little bit.
Yeah, I think it makes sense now that you mention it. Because I was kind of arguing against Varian Rin as a necessity in Control Warrior, but when you do put in Justicar, they seem to just work super well together. If you ever have to worry about Fatigue, of course, usually games come down to like 3 to 5 cards off Fatigue. But for those games that you expect to go there, then definitely Justicar is compensating.
Yeah, and there is a chance you'll see Sivka shy away from playing this card for the rest of the game until he actually just has to. There's a situation where, he just has to play this card because, that was
that's a sick top deck
Stancifka.
You can play that Dr. Boom, no problem afterwards, and wipe the board. Tell me about how you like Bash. That's insane.
Now, this is why I like Bash. You get to actually combine it with cards like Fiery War Axe and Deathspite to take care of these gigantic legendaries or Druid of the Claws, cards that you had problems with dealing 1-for-1 with if you didn't have a gigantic Shield Slam or Execute.
Yeah, I mean, what are you afraid of here playing Varian Rin? Shadow Flame on a Molten would be the absolute worst case scenario, right? Like if you play it later. So Thijs would have to have the Molten, be low enough on health that it matters. So he has to tap himself to low health before he can even try to do that. And by that point, with Dr. Boom being up and Ragnaros coming up and Varian Rin, he might just be out of options. We'll have to see exactly how the game pans out, but it's looking pretty solid for Stan.
Yeah, I mean, like the cleanest turn is the one you talked about with, Dr. Boom and Deathspite here, and I think he's just trying to decide on what's the best sequence to do this here. Like, when do I want the boom bots to die? Do I want to take this to my face, or do I want to have the chance of, the boom bots going crazy back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, keeping the armor is obviously better, and he gets to develop his own Dr. Boom, which gives him a huge edge. Of course, Thijs can answer this somewhat nicely with the Hellfire BGH. What's interesting is that if he goes low enough on health with the Boom Bots, which, again, we have to assume he will, he can even follow it up with the Molten Giant for 0, and,
This game is about to speed up quite a bit here over the next couple turns, because, like, honestly, the last 8 turns, not a lot has really happened. They've been jockeying for position back and forth. It's answer this, answer that, but Sivka is actually getting really low on cards here now. And Thijs is actually starting to find ways to utilize the cards that were bad for him early in the game. Like he has a big game hunter here for the Dr. Boom if he wants, but is that something he wants to use now, knowing that there might be cards like Ragnaros and stuff like that left over in Sivka's deck?
Yeah, so maybe he's just going to go for a Hellfire, Dark Bomb Coil.
Yeah,
and
it could be that.
Plays the Giant.
Yeah, he's going to be able to play the Molten Giant pretty much no matter what here this turn. I don't know if there's a combination that could keep him from playing it.
1-1, I guess, if they both hits for 1.
Yeah,
now he's dead to Rag on a 50-50. Oh, man. Better play the Sun Fury and hope that Rag doesn't do it.
Now, if you're Sivka, do you just take this? Because here's the thing, there's only one bad.
Wouldn't. Yeah, there's one bad target. And
one bad target, it's the 2-3.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And you could even solve the problem further down the line if things come up. I would probably give it a shot. Oh, it's so tough. I mean, if I play Varian, I'm losing to Shadow Flame. If I play War Axe Execute, I'm not doing a power play. So I have to go for Rag. Let's see how the esports line up.
Oh boy.
Well, they lined up pretty well. So Thijs goes down, Stancifka equalizes 2-2, and he's going to be locking the game with his Control Warrior. We see that Thijs is stuck on his last deck here. He has to win with this hand lock in order to move on. Not quite happening yet.
Yeah, and my video buffered at the exact wrong moment there, is right when the fireball was about to come out.
Right, same thing for me. I was like, well, did it kill anything? Okay.
And then all of a sudden we see the game end. Yeah.
Right.
So anticlimactic after the way that game was working out here. So how do you feel this matchup works out here with these two guys at the last game?
I think Stan's got a huge edge because the double BGH will give him the clean giant kills, of course.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about earlier when we brought up the fact that he had 2 BGHs, like when we saw him, mulligan them, that this is what he was looking for. He was looking for this kind of matchup I mean, BGH in this matchup oftentimes can win a game by itself. It's that swingy. If you only have one giant and you have to play it, and then they have a BGH and follow it up, or have their own giant before that, I mean, you're just dead.
Yeah, well, it's the biggest weakness I think of like running a deck like Thijs's, because Thijs like he's running 2 owls, I guess, at the very least. That's a really big upside to an extent.
Yeah, he does have 2 owls for Twilight Drake fights, for things like that, and could take care of some Sludge Belchers, stuff like that. But I still would rather be on the side with the double BGH myself.
Yeah, of course. I mean, killing the Drakes is nice, but ultimately you're still better off killing Giants for free.
Yeah, eventually you could take care of a Drake, even a 4/10 Drake. Eventually, I mean, you're not taking 30 from a Drake. It's not attacking you that many times. But yeah, I mean, the BGHs in this matchup, they're just so swingy. And I mean, Sifka's got to feel good about getting this matchup.
Well, let's see if Thijs just maybe runs off with Drakes. What if the Drakes actually work out and he doesn't get... Stancifka has the tech cards, but like all tech cards, you have to draw them.
Right.
And it's not like Thijs has, 0 BGH. He's got the 1. So the edge is really 1 BGH. It's not so much that he has 2. But the thing is, getting that first kill is such an important swing that, Stan is statistically favorite.
Yeah, we're going to see Thijs easily run away with this game by getting an early BGH. That's just going to happen because of the way Hearthstone works, with the guy having a 1-of versus the guy having a 2-of.
Of course. He won't have Giants and Stan will, and he will get BGH and Stan won't. Well, so far it could still come true. Both players with the Emperor. So yeah, that's going to give the first Emperor player a pretty heavy lead. I was talking about this with Savitz yesterday. We were talking about the matchup, in the mirror match of Handlock. And usually whoever gets the first Emperor can get a crazy amount of flexibility going forward.
Yeah, I was going to say, both their hands are actually looking super similar so far here, but that is a BGH pickup here, so some swing potential going further. That's an Iron Beak Owl pickup as well, so this early Twilight Drake might be answered because he's got the Mortal Coil combo with it too. Just the nightmare. That is just a nightmare in this matchup.
How do you even handle the Drake without Iron Beak and Coil? Very often I think you just can't, right? Like it's one of those cards that just puts on so much pressure.
Yeah, you have to give like 2 attacks into it, usually like either 1 attack from a giant, or like you have to do a giant plus something, or Dark Bomb plus Sludge Belcher. It's just it's an annoyance more than anything. You just eventually have to deal with it, or you have to sweep it up in a giant Shadow Flame.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm pretty sure all those pro players know the ways that it's dealt with. I know Iron Beak Owl Coil, it's a very easy one, but what about those smaller trades? Like you've got Drake running to Drake with a Dark Bomb Coil. How often is that does that happen, right? Like, is a 4/8 frequent enough in the mirror match that it's something you have to keep in mind? Because I mean, usually on the spot you'll figure it out. Since it's a deck that they don't always have it, but you need to know all these little nuances to really get the edge over your opponent.
Yeah, this is one of the most, I think, skill-intensive mirrors in all of Hearthstone, because this one, you get to play out almost your entire deck. Almost never does someone lose on like turn 6 or turn 7. Some crazy stuff can happen, obviously. Someone could have like the all-giant draw and the other person just have 0 answers. It's possible. But you're going to see these guys really jockey for position and then understand how to use their cards in this matchup, because as you said, you have to combine a bunch of little cards, the role players, to take care of, the few big threats that go on. And you don't always have just the sheer power of BGH to fix that, So you have to figure out what's the right combination to get through everything in these games. And it definitely favors whoever's played the most games of the mirror match.
I feel like Thijs, because he actually gets to play the Emperor first, will... I mean, I think that alone is good enough, I wouldn't say to win the game, but it's going to be a really big deal, because Stan is theoretically the one who's going to play it, first because he's the first player. But in this case, Thijs getting the initiative forces Stan to play defensively from here on out to deal with it. And from what I can tell, Stancifka just doesn't have a good answer to it. Like, I mean, he has to Iron Beak his own Ancient Watcher, then use Dark Bomb, or silence the Emperor, which just feels like a bit of a wasted turn.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be using a Dark Bomb probably either way, because you can maybe get 2 damage on the Emperor and then finish it off with a Dark Bomb. I mean, there's not a lot of great, clean ways to have this, go on here. And if you answer with your own Emperor here and say, there's a chance some crazy stuff starts happening. I mean, Dice starts getting the first discount and then the second discount.
No, I don't think there's any way. Would you ever, throw an Emperor to counter an Emperor? Don't you get snowballed out of the game too early and too fast, for the most part?
No, I don't think I could ever actually do it, because it's just, you're just waiting to die at that point.
It's suicide. The thing is, you can't even start playing around anything anymore, because everything could happen at that stage.
But what does Sifka do here? Like, I mean,
I mean, Hellfire or Dark Bomb, I could see. It puts the Watcher on 2, and you might not get that many good Hellfire turns. Playing Iron Beak Owl is tempting, but then what about Drakes? If you think your board can generally transition to a good way to counter Drakes, then sure, this is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, I like this. Getting the Ancient Watcher taunt here as well. Hopefully making sure that you can get some damage on this Emperor. Just giving yourself a chance to actually take care of this Emperor over the next turn as well. Get some value out of your Dark Bomb. Plus, you'll still have 5 mana left over, so you can still play a Sludge Belcher or a Heal Bot behind this. But the Heal Bot chances are pretty low since you have Molten Giant.
All right, so the Emperor attacking into this would leave it on 1 health, which again would expose it to easy removal, not really that difficult, even a coil. Giant really is an interesting pickup because you can actually Dark Bomb the 2/3 and the Emperor would be able to trade. And it's only going to cost you 4 mana to develop the Giant and the Dark Bomb. So this is, to me, the most tempting play.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of things he can do this turn. And I mean, damaging his Emperor here is interesting. I thought there was a chance he wouldn't attack here this turn and maybe just sit behind Sludge Belcher, maybe remove a minion here, but I actually kind of like this play a little bit too. Just get the Ancient Watcher off the board. It doesn't cost you a ton. I mean, getting 2 triggers out of your Emperor, I think you're fine with that. If you get any cards for your Emperor now, I think you got to feel like you're super far ahead.
So Thijs is holding on to the Giant because he doesn't want to overextend into a BGH, and there's always a chance, not playing Dark Bomb here also gives him more cards in hand, which makes the Giant that much easier to play, of course, and weave in on the following turns. And if something crazy happens from Stancifka's side, there's always the emergency Shadow Flame. What I love about Shadow Flame being used in this matchup is when you use it in conjunction with Loatheb on turn 9. If there's ever a good card to use with Shadow Flame, it's probably this, because the possibilities of them swinging back on the back of it, they can't play spells at all. So if you have a board at the moment and you Shadow Flame theirs with a Loatheb, you're usually just gonna lock it down right there.
Yeah, it's just like a time walk. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. You just get a free turn to play. They can't play spells to remove your stuff. They might play theirs, and you still get the initiative on removal. It's pretty hard to handle.
Yeah, no Mortal Coil here for Stancifka, so no clean, just easy way to take care of this Emperor. Don't actually already gonna have to give some more resources into it here, but he's starting to make a tiny bit of headway. But again, he's gonna be giving initiative back over to Thijs here.
I think the word of the day is clean. We've said clean very often. This is a clean way to kill this. A clean way to kill that. This is a pretty clean kill. Clean play. Nice job, Stan. We just keep cleaning up today. I don't know what's up with us. All right. So you see, first day we cast together, I already have a word that I will remember forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think once one of us says it more than once, the other guy just picks up on it and has to start saying it as well.
Right. It's like that one time somebody said pilot, and I kept saying pilot for the entire cast. I couldn't stop. I was like, this guy is piloting this deck perfectly. Pilot. And then instead of saying he played a Giant, he developed a Giant. He never played a Giant anymore. He always developed it. I don't know what was up with that cast, but...
You're just in tune with your fellow caster.
Right.
It's just good work. It's just good work on your part, man.
Right. Let's put it that way. It feels better, right?
Yeah.
Can't go wrong if I'm in tune with the other casters.
Yeah, let's turn it into something positive.
Right. All right, so Thijs is going to have to deal with a pretty good board from Stancifka, but it's not really a big deal if you got the Hellfire. In fact, it's a pretty okay Hellfire. You might even be happy to pick it up that way. I mean, do you ever consider keeping the Loatheb alive? Is a Shadow Flame a viable option in any way?
I mean, if you Shadow Flame, it does leave behind a slime, but how big of a problem is that here?
Oh, that's a card for Shadow Flame if you want to use it.
Yeah, you can do
wait,
this.
Though, I think.
Yeah, and Shadow Flame, then maybe get some Mortal Coil action going on as well. But
okay, maybe you just Heal Bot Dark Bomb the 4/2. And Loatheb still offers a trade with the Belcher and the 2/2, and the Heal Bot is, stays alive. It's kind of playing into Hellfire, but of course, when are you not playing into Hellfire?
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to see his hand, so I'm just trying to figure out exactly what every card is.
Are you blind, or is it just pixelated?
It's just a little pixelated on my end right now for the second. So.
Alright, so Thijs is going to take a trade with the Hellfire, finally find a spot to use it. What's good about this is it lets him play his Ancient Watcher if he wants it right away, which again gives him the board and an opportunity to set up a Shadow Flame that he wants to use. Does he know that Stan plays Alex Straza? I don't think he does.
Yeah,
I don't think he does.
I don't know if he's seen that card yet. How good is Alex Straza in the mirror?
Honestly, I was gonna say it's usually not that great, but I haven't seen Siphon Soul from either player, and the BGH targets are the Giants, and that gives Alex Straza a lot more power when the BGHs are already out of the way.
So you feel like it's just like an extra copy of Giant?
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's a really costly, like, late game Mountain Giant that also happens to have an effect.
It's just a top decked Mountain Giant on like turn 12 or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Now Sifka's going to be the one to get the Emperor going here, and you gotta like his spot with this Emperor as well. I mean, this hand is a good one to get discounts on, and
I think his Emperor is a lot better than Thijs was.
Yeah,
like, this is just an insane Emperor from Stan.
Yeah, this is what I was kind of alluding to, that this puts a lot of pressure on Thijs too. He like needs to answer this turn, and then he can't develop a lot else going on after that as well. He's gonna start getting himself a little closer.
Oh god, the anti-aggro version is absolutely not fit for this mirror match. Stancifka's variant is miles ahead of Thijs's in this one. The Zombie Chow, not a card you ever want to play.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you can give them more life so they can't play
Molten. Man, the way you put it, it just makes me want to start playing Zombie Chows and mirror match handlock. Yeah, it's like playing Refreshment Vendor to counter the Moltens. Gotta start doing that stuff.
Hey, you get a 3-4 out of it. That might be something to do.
Yeah. Alright, so Stancifka with the opportunity to use his BGH. I mean, the second one coming down will be the nail in the coffin, I feel, for Thijs, but we'll see exactly if that ends up being the case. Because you can play your own Molten on the back of it, and again, that's a pretty big threat.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of awesome turns he can do here, all of which, I mean, we talked about this. He's got 2 BGHs in his deck, and Thijs has a Zombie Chow and only 1 BGH in his. I mean, you've got to feel Stan is pretty favored in this matchup at all times.
Yeah, we'll see if Thijs is able to do anything. I mean, he seems like he's laying back in his chair, maybe a little discontent at the fact that he has to handle the double BGH. It happened to him in the past, if I'm not mistaken, where he ran into a double BGH handlock in a mirror match, and he just felt... I mean, it's unbelievable, because you don't see it that frequently, right?
Yeah, and I like this from Sifka. He's gonna you got to feel that when he plays the Lothep this turn, that he's looking to end this game. This is his push.
But Thijs has a good way to slow it down. I mean, you go for the BGH. You can even Dark Bomb the BGH, or even silence your Watcher if you want to attack into the what's the name of it? The Big Game Hunter. That's gonna give you a little bit more. I mean, survivability, I guess, in a way. It's kind of a weird situation to be stuck in, but I might do that. Man, Thijs digging and digging for the answers. Picks up a Drake. Definitely not a bad card to play from this position at all.
Yeah, do you Drake this turn? If you Drake, you have 2 mana left over, so you can go Drake into Big Game Hunter into
Owl trade.
Owl, yeah.
Would you do that, or is that too vulnerable to an AoE from Sifka?
I mean, do you have the time to really be playing around anything like that anymore? I guess if you BGH an Owl, then maybe you don't have to Twilight Drake. But I mean, you need some kind of pressure as well.
Yeah, I think the 4/9 is almost too good to pass. So he might keep the Owl. Okay, he does keep the Owl in the end. Doesn't want to make that trade. Wants to force Lotheb into getting coiled, right? And I think it's understandable. Is he pushing?
Yeah, this is lethal. This is lethal. The 2 Hellfire.
Oh yeah, you're right. The 2 Hellfires with the BGH is going to give Stancifka the lethal. So he's going to be able to. I almost want to say almost reverse sweep Thijs.
Yeah.
I think this handlock from Thijs was just not fit to go up against the lineup from Stancifka. And so as the winner's bracket is complete, Thijs is knocked out. He's going to have a chance again to compete against another player to maybe still win. He's not completely out of it. There's going to be the losers match that we're going to be casting. And whoever wins this is going to play against Thijs. And it's not because his lineup is weak against Stancifka that he just can't go through. 2 people go through, and he still has a chance. And if it turns out that he ends up playing against the same opponent that he played up against earlier, maybe the lineup will hold, and that'll throw him forward if he beats Surrender again. But that Zoo draw was so bad from Surrender. Yeah. Such a thing may never happen again.
Yeah, I mean, you got to believe his lineup was built to, combat something that he isn't really seeing out of this group. I actually don't love his lineup for what's going on in this group. Right. I mean, I feel like he's going to be losing some percentage points in whatever matchup, whoever he's going to be playing. But, I mean, he's a great player, and I think he still has a very good chance to get through. It's just going to be interesting to see if he can dodge those, few bad top decks. I mean, he top decked Zombie Chow there late in the game, and he really needed something to really affect the board that turn.
I mean, Zombie Chow isn't even bad against another handlock if you get it out early, because it might end up dealing more damage than it heals. So in some ways, it kind of helps out. But the weird thing, I think, is just that this is possibly the worst deck to be running in a mirror match handlock. Like, he just, like, Stan had the double BGH, he had the anti-ergo tech. It's not going to line up at all for Thijs. So, that being said, guys, this is, you know, the winner's match. We're going to have the loser's match, and then the final match of the day to see who from the loser's bracket is going to be moving on. We'll take a short break of 10 minutes. You guys will be right back. Do not go anywhere.
From east to west, heroes are sent, seeking glory in the greatest of events. There are knights on noble steeds, those who will bring them to their knees. There are monsters to test their mettle at every turn. Legends will rise based on their merits. There's even pirates riding parrots. It's the grand